Hello, everyone. We're just going to give everyone about another 2 minutes and then we will get started. And as you join the stream, I would love to hear where everyone is from if you want to drop that into the chat.
Oh, we have an international presence? That's exciting. Two people from Vancouver? Do y'all know each other? Of course. Good. London,
London.
UK. Are we just making up locations? This is crazy. Oh my goodness, Natchitoches, Texas. I ran track in Texas and I remember driving over to Natchitoches for a ride. What university is there? That was a fun time.
Okay, welcome everyone. I know some people will continue joining us, and we only have a half hour today. My name is Paul Olson. I'm the head of marketing and communications for Community Boost, and this is our second monthly series called The Brief, where we take a deep dive into digital marketing topics that are of relevance to the nonprofit community. I'm pleased to welcome you to this session, which is going to focus on programmatic, and I'd like to introduce two people. Katie Groke is our head of our programmatic practice. She's going to have a fireside chat with Lauren Firestone, who is our client from Christian Relief Services. Christian Relief Services has been working with Community Boost since 2022. We support their marketing for three of their affiliates, including Running Strong for American Indian Youth, who you're going to hear about today, and how they use programmatic as part of the omni-channel digital marketing campaign and the fantastic results they've had. I'm going to turn it over to Katie now to get us going.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. And thank you, Lauren, for joining me. Where are you coming in from, Lauren? Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Oh, what a way to start. I'm from Arlington, Virginia.
Arlington, Virginia. Sweet. I'm coming in from San Diego, California. So y'all are doing this in the afternoon. I'm doing it in the morning. It's all great, though. So thank you all for joining us. I'm going to do a quick screen share to make sure that we are all aligned on definitions. So when we're talking about programmatic, I know that it's a big scary channel for a lot of folks. So we just wanted to make sure that everyone's on the same page of what programmatic is before we get started. So programmatic, when we cut down all of the fancy jargony words, is essentially data-driven media buying to reach your audiences. When you're thinking about meta advertising and search advertising, programmatic is essentially all the other ads. It's display, it's video, it's the ads you see on your TV, and we're targeting folks via who they are rather than a search term. So that's the big picture of what programmatic is. And why is it called programmatic? Because it's bought programmatically. That's the only reason it's called programmatic. There isn't like a fancy, like behind the curtain. It's essentially a program. And instead of buying, say, a billboard from Steve from down the road, you're buying it through a program that's doing it automatically for you. So that's our level set, and we'll have Q&A later if there are more deeper questions about the platform, the programs at large. But we really want to focus on running strong for American Indian youth and what we've been doing with them for, the past 4 years now, and with Lauren for the past two since she's been on the marketing team and really taking over this in the last, what was it, 6 months, Lauren, that you've you've taken full control. You're in
Just about.
you're in charge now. So we're gonna dive in with some questions of how things have specifically worked for your team. Um, Before we dive into like the big strategy of things, when you and I guess the Running Strong team at large first sat down with Community Boost, Running Strong was already doing great work in traditional channels. You guys have your email list, you have Meta, you have search, you have the big pillars. Where do you feel you started to hit the ceiling with donor acquisition, and what made you realize you needed to shift how you were marketing for your brand and your organization?
Yes. So we were really just starting to stall. There was no growth, and we weren't doing very, very minimal meta. We were doing very, very minimal search, and we weren't growing. There's no way to grow when you keep going to the same audience over and over again. Um, you get donor fatigue, conversion rates start to decline, and in order to grow, you have to, try something new.
Yeah. A lot of nonprofit leaders that we talk to are very intimidated by programmatic and jumping into something that kind of feels ethereal, which is something we've used to describe some of your affiliates. So they avoid it. They're kind of scared of it. What about how we worked together and you as a leader kind of gave you the confidence to take this step and invest in new channels?
I was very lucky to have a leader who wanted to make an additional investment. So that gave us an opportunity to be in channels from what I knew that are not traditional revenue generating channels. Something that's more top of funnel to educate people, to raise awareness, and reach new people we, you know, may never have reached before. So having that increase in budget, I wanted to give you guys as the experts, we've worked with you for a really long time, as the experts to just put my trust in you guys. This is what you do. And I've seen what we've done over the years do really well. So, you know, we were just ready.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point is when you have a leader that trusts you and lets you take that leap, it's very nice. I always enjoy listening to those stories like, oh wow, you feel you're trusted and you trust us, and that makes the whole wheel move.
That's
Um,
right. That's exactly
yeah,
right.
it really does sound quite lovely. So to pull back the curtain for everyone, when Community Boost first started running Strong's, playbook, which we are going to send out some tips and tricks for getting started on programmatic to everyone who's here. We when we first started, we really focused on getting really, really narrow and really, really precise in our audience layering and making sure that we're looking at the big picture. The slide that I'm sharing right now kind of shows the development of our strategy of being really, really donor focused to start, and then we expanded out of saying, actually we need to build our audience base before we start asking them for money. What I call it is dating your donor, making sure that they know you exist. Like you wouldn't just propose, hey, can I have a huge amount of money? You just met me. So really, really shifting how we targeted with programmatic and how it plugged into our other channels that we were working with. Lauren, when we presented the initial strategy and kind of moved beyond just the demographics and the relative behaviors, how did that shift how you thought about your ideal donor?
That's interesting because I think as marketers and fundraisers, we think we know who our donors are, especially in direct mail. You do it for a certain amount of time, you spend a certain amount of money, you start to see trends. And in digital, it's the same. However, these are all people who raised their hand and said, yes, I want to hear from you. But for the people who don't know we exist, they can't raise their hand and we can't reach them otherwise. So I think that that's a huge piece of it is it's kind of eye-opening to be like, oh, there's this whole other audience out there that we can reach out to who might be interested in us, who might appreciate what it is that we do. Um, so it's like your ideal donor or your expected donor, it does shift because it's like, oh, there's this whole other audience out there that, you know, could be primed and ready for us.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our biggest goals with programmatic in general is to make sure that it didn't operate in a silo. We wanted to make sure that it was partnering with, you're on Meta, you're on Google, and then your programmatic channels. We have YouTube, we have native display. Um, we want to make sure that all of these things are working together. And my oh no, I lost my spot. How do you see this always on awareness approach change the performance across the other marketing channels?
So yeah, so I think it's twofold. It's reaching those new people, getting them to know who we are and what it is that we do, but also for retargeting. So if somebody learns about us because they clicked on an ad for Running Strong for our food program, for example, and they go to our website, they learn more about our food program, and then we retarget them. Now we know that they're qualified or interested in what it is that we do, and they're more likely to convert. So it's I think that it's remarketing within programmatic is a piece of the puzzle, but then remarketing in the other channels or somebody searching for us on Google and finding us um, and knowing who we are already because they saw an ad previously or they went to our website previously um, is really how it's impacting the other channels. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're also doing remarketing, I would imagine, from the programmatic side into Facebook. Um,
Yes, absolutely. So one of our big things, and you hit it like right on the head, is programmatic is driving the demand. You can't search for something you don't know about. Like exactly to the point that you make of like they need to do that initial research before they start searching for you. So when we're looking at, investment of our dollars for marketing, there's the okay, I know this person knows who I am. I'm gonna have the branded search terms in our search strategy, but I also need to make sure that I'm filling up that cup of people who want to search for running strong. And that's where, the programmatic pops in and we have both, the we're driving as many people as we can to your website. And then Meta comes in and retargets people who have visited your website. Google, we do the same thing with Performance Max. It's people who have come to your website, we're retargeting them again. And then, we're capturing the branded search and we're capturing the non-branded search and we're hitting the same people who have already seen you with another video ad or another display ad. And it's all kind of working together. So even if the funds for programmatic aren't seeing necessarily like a one-to-one donation, we are seeing increased numbers in our other channels. And I think that was one of the big things when we're looking at, I'm going to take this image down, but when we're looking at, this 70% increase from 2023 to 2025, like that is looking at our marketing only. We're only looking at our marketing dollars and that increase that was coming from paid search, programmatic, and um, Meta. And as you invest in kind of all of them, even though that programmatic number is not necessarily a 100% return, you start seeing all of those other channels start getting lifted up as well. And that brings me to, I think, my closing questions for you, Lauren. You are very unique as a leader in the sense that you aren't concerned about the individual channels' return on investment. You look at the big picture of your marketing efforts, of how everything is working together. How did you get to that? How do you approach those big picture results? Because it's very unique, and how did you get there?
So ultimately, in my mind, how much did we spend and how much did we raise? Especially with a channel like programmatic, which isn't a one-to-one channel. You have to appreciate it for what it is and what it can do and how it influences the other channels, like you were saying. But ultimately, and fortunately for me, my leadership doesn't look at it by channel. They're looking at how much money did we raise overall. Um, so so I guess I'm very lucky in that way, and that I have the flexibility to be able to look at it that way. Um, yeah, it's great to see one-to-one. I know Meta, we do very, very well one-to-one. But it 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 all works together. It's just like if you're integrating from direct mail to online or anything else. I think part of the issue is that a lot of people think of it as direct mail, where it's this, you spend this amount and you raise this amount, and it's very one-to-one. Digital is not that way because you can see one thing and it can influence something you do a week later. So it's less to me about what's happening, on a day-to-day basis, or from this dollar that goes over here and then comes back over here. It's more about that holistic view and how is everything working together.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a conversation last week that it's not a programmatic plug necessarily, but it does highlight that big picture. Do you mind sharing that story of your new amazing donor who you dated? You dated that donor, and now they're not you personally, but running strong dated that
I
donor.
was like, I did? No. Yeah, so we got in a $70,000 donation from a donor, and they told us that they first heard of us through a search ad. They went to our website, learned more about us, they signed up for email, and then they decided to make a $70,000 donation. So it just shows how it all works together. If we weren't doing search, they wouldn't have found us. I don't know how we even found them in the first place, right? But does it matter? Not really, if the results are the same. So it's a really good example of why going channel by channel is not that important. It's good for us to know, like it, and we don't always get this, and Katie and I talked about that previously. You don't always know when you get a giant donation. Is it because somebody, went to an event or, really loves the program? So for somebody to say, yes, I saw a search ad and we signed up for your email list, and then we got your emails, and then we made this huge donation is a really big deal. Um, but again, it shows that, you know, um, we have no idea how they found us to search for us. That could have been programmatic, and that $70,000 will never go back to that first thing that introduced us to them. So I don't want to say who cares, because other leadership doesn't look at things that way. But from my perspective, I mean, that increased us, I don't even know how many fold in our year over year revenue. Um,
Yeah,
so
no,
yeah.
that's really huge. And I think that it connects too to how we've talked about attribution of digital attribution is I don't I joke that I am not smart enough to solve digital attribution. I'm not going to figure it out. But what I do know is that Google hasn't recommended last click since 2019. But I don't necessarily have a better answer because, well, if I can't track last click, what do I track? And one thing that we have been implementing that I've been kind of enjoying and it makes me feel a little bit better, and I shared it with you last week, is the cross-channel attribution that we've had with StackAdapt now. StackAdapt is where we're hosting some of our programmatic for Running Strong, and getting to see the bigger zoomed out picture of, oh, they saw a native ad and then they saw a search ad and then they came direct to our website, or they came direct after getting an email and so on. Has I know this is a question I hadn't given you, but does that um, report or even that kind of view impact, where you want to put your dollars moving forward, having that little bit of insight?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, strategically, again, I would rely on you guys for recommendations. Um, but yeah, I mean, because it shows like where the starting point is. And if that starting point is influencing so much as time goes on and so many people and it's, helping growth, then yeah, I think it's pretty critical in terms of planning and strategy and spend and things like that.
So we want to leave the last 9 minutes for Q&A from the audience, and we have our first question, and I think this could be answered by both of you. Can you share some advantages of audience targeting when it comes to programmatic, and how granular can you get with who you want to reach?
Yeah.
Katie, you're up.
Um, I often feel kind of creepy with how granular I can get. So with programmatic, if everyone is familiar with search and meta, so social advertising, programmatic is kind of a combination of the two. So we're able to target based off of demographics, based off of what folks are searching, based off of who they are. For example, with Running Strong, we've done different testings on, okay, if they're somebody who's of Native American descent, is this somebody who's likely to be a donor? Is it somebody who has a history of charitable giving? Is this somebody who makes sense for Running Strong? So we can get honestly almost to a creepy level, pretty precise with our targeting. We have organizations that we work with that are in children's cancer research. I can go in and I can find a list of people who have a history of donating to other organizations with that are doing children's health research and things like that. So we can get pretty granular with our targeting. We also have targets that I joke that we can't necessarily be too precise. Sometimes we do need to zoom out and look at who are the decision makers. So one of our top performing audiences is actually holiday shoppers. So around the giving season, targeting holiday shoppers tends to be a really good awareness driver and helps bring people into the funnel because who are the holiday shoppers? They're the people who are making the financial decisions in the household. So they're honestly, it's my mom. It's my mom who's doing the shopping for her four children, and she's also deciding where else her money is gonna go that season. So that's definitely a another added thing. So we can get very, very precise, but then we can also open it up to make sure we're bringing in, enough people into that awareness.
So this next question is for Lauren. Knowing what you know now regarding programmatic results, how do you plan to tackle end of year donations, and what do you hope to test in the future? You're
Ooh,
on mute.
muted. Lauren, you're muted.
Still muted.
That was really good, you guys. I'm
I
sorry you missed it.
know.
Yeah, so actually this year we're planning on testing connected TV, which is advertising on streaming, the old DRTV, I guess. But yeah, so we're seeing results. I want to try new things. I want to expand. We have the budget to do it. And we can continue to do the things that we know that's working, but eventually the same thing's going to happen that happened before is we're going to see diminishing returns. So if we keep doing email, then, you know, that's going to, diminish. And then, if we keep doing the same types of advertising, the same thing's going to happen. So we have to, build on that foundation and grow, um, moving forward in channels and in spend and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I want to note that end of year donations doesn't start at Giving Tuesday. It's already started.
It's
And
true.
for Running Strong, especially, I think it's a really good example of it's taken about a year of full, like we are investing in the top of funnel to see the results that we saw
Yeah.
in, 2025. And we had tested different things, and really it was a whole year of nurturing this audience to then have such a strong, I mean, year over year, everything like it's a positive investment, but you might look at June and be like, ooh, June was a rough year or a rough month, and we kind of stick it out to um, build up enough to have that successful year end. So if we're looking at, and that's the example, 2023, it was we're going to do a year end push, and we're going to push, 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 and we didn't have enough time to generate the awareness to be able to have a successful year end. So year end starts now. Is my closing on that.
Thanks, Katie. So we have two more questions, 4 minutes left. This one is for Katie. For which nonprofits do programmatic ads work best?
I think outside of the nonprofit, it's what your goal is. If we're looking at really trying to drive bottom of funnel conversions, we need to be okay with investing in the top of funnel. And with that, we want to see strong creative. If you're going to do video, it needs to be a solid video. If we're gonna, that's something Lauren and I have worked on over the last 6 months, is like, let's get our videos to be, useful to folks. We do find that mid-size organizations where you already have a good remarketing list, that we see higher performances at the lower funnel goals. But I think any nonprofit can benefit from investment in top of funnel. If you don't have remarketing yet, programmatic is a good way to help build your remarketing.
So we have 3 affiliates altogether. Running Strong is one of them, and we have 2 others. And the executive directors for those were not as interested in making an investment in programmatic and just in digital advertising as a whole. And that becomes a problem. And we weren't raising money because we weren't doing this piece where we're filling the funnel, where we're reaching new people, and all of those things. So I don't know that it's the type of organization. I think it's really who you are and what you do, and then how you do what you do with the money or the budget you're given.
And that's a great segue into this last question. I think this is for you, Lauren. I'm thinking about bringing this in, programmatic in, but budget is always a bottom line issue. As I listened to Lauren talk about what did it cost and what did it raise, I feel like I could present this to my board as a new fundraising event, even though it's a long-term thing. How quickly could I tell them to expect a return, and what percentages of investment to return on investment could we expect?
Katie, I think that's more of a you question.
Yeah, I think the timeline question is, it really depends. If you come to me and you have no digital marketing of any kind, it's going to take longer. Lauren and I were running into it with the 2 other affiliates. Like, we were starting essentially from scratch with their digital marketing, and we got 6 months in, and we were seeing the needle move, but we needed more time. If you already have built up, some foothold in the digital marketing space, I would say, 6 months is kind of a minimum that I like for testing. And we're always pushing for, we want a minimum of 1x return. Like, that's like the minimum of what we want to be hitting. And depending on, you know, the organization and where we're starting, we can, increase that up. Um, I mean, right now for Running Strong, we're well above 2 times return on investment. I think if Facebook, when you just look at Facebook, is upwards of like 5 to 8, depending on the initiative. And then the big picture is probably closer to like 3 to 4. Does that sound right, Lauren?
That's about right. Yeah.
I wish I had the number right in front of me.
I don't either, but yeah.
And that's just what we can track.
That's right.
It's just what we can track. That's not everything. Um, but I think to the Lauren of it, don't let me put words in your mouth, Lauren, but I think that page has it of we're not looking at the individual channel, we're looking at the push as a whole.
That's right. That's 100% right. Um, yeah, it's gonna improve growth or it's gonna influence growth, but again, it may not look like it. You look at it individually. So.
Big picture.
Great. Well, I want to thank Lauren for joining us today and Katie for this really rich conversation. And I hope this stimulated some thinking around how programmatic can work in your toolkit for improving your digital marketing program. And look forward to next month's topic. We'll be sending out a POV and uh, announcement about the next webinar. And really appreciate everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.